Yeah, the stuff you sent in for this one, really fascinating. It all has to do with, well, first of all, the word lucid.
Lucid.
Right. But also this whole idea of lucid dreaming. I mean, have you ever had one?
I've had a few, yeah. They're pretty amazing.
It's such a weird concept, right? Like being aware that you're dreaming while you're still in the dream. So that's what we're going to deep dive into today. Kind of a two-parter. First, what lucid actually means, where that word comes from, the history of it. Then we'll get into the whole lucid dreaming thing, all the research, the techniques, and all that.
Sounds like a plan. I'm ready to dive in.
Me too. I have a feeling we might have some of those aha moments along the way, seeing how these ideas connect.
Definitely. It's a cool intersection of, language and our own inner experience.
Yeah.
And the material you sent is perfect for exploring that.
So let's start with the word itself, lucid. According to Etymonline, which, by the way, is a fantastic resource for word origins, lucid pops up in the 1590s, meaning bright shining.
Okay.
Which, at first glance, seems a bit different from how we usually use it today, right?
Right.
But that core idea of light, it's right there from the start. The word comes from the Latin lucidus, which literally meant light, bright, clear.
And it's interesting, lucidus wasn't just about physical light, like the sun or a lamp.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It also had this figurative meaning, like when you describe something as perspicuous or clear in an intellectual sense, like you understand it clearly.
Right, right. That makes sense. So the brightness extends to understanding.
Exactly. And it goes even deeper. The Latin lucere, meaning to shine, and lux, meaning light, those come from an even older root.
Oh, wow. Even older? Like what?
Proto-Indo-European. The root is luke. And guess what? It also meant to shine, be bright.
So this one ancient concept of brightness, of shining, is like the ancestor to all these words we still use.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got light itself, obviously. But then illuminate, lunar, even a word like pellucid, which I always think of as meaning really clear, like water.
Yeah, or like crystal,
Yeah.
all connected back to that ancient root. It's amazing to think about.
It really is. And it shows how fundamental the idea of light is to human understanding, not just literally, but also how we describe abstract ideas.
Exactly. So much of our language is built on those core sensory experiences. Light, dark, sound, touch. It all shapes how we think and talk about the world.
Okay, so back to lucid. Etymonline also mentions that the sense of easy to understand, free from obscurity, that doesn't appear in written use until 1786.
Interesting. So the literal physical sense came first.
Exactly. But there's this other phrase, lucid interval, that pops up even earlier in the 1580s, and that one really struck me.
Oh, yeah. Lucid interval. That's a powerful one. It comes from the medieval Latin lucida intervalla.
Okay.
And it was often used in legal situations, talking about periods of sanity, of clear thinking in people with mental instability. It's like a moment of clarity amidst the chaos.
Like a break in the storm clouds, a patch of clear sky.
Exactly. And then you've got the astronomical use, lucida stella, that's a star that's easily visible to the naked eye. That dates back to 1727.
So even when we're looking out into space, lucid is there, describing something that stands out in its clarity. It's like it follows us everywhere.
And for you listening, think about it. This idea of lucid, it's in how we experience light, how we think, even how we describe mental states. It's this thread that runs through so many aspects of our lives.
And that brings us to the second part of our deep dive, lucid dreaming. It's like taking that sense of clarity and bringing it into our dreams. So the Very Well Mind article, another great resource. By the way, they define lucid dreaming as basically, knowing you're dreaming while you're still dreaming.
Right, like suddenly becoming aware inside the dream that it's a dream.
And what's really amazing is that often comes with a sense of control. Like you can actually start to influence what happens in the dream, direct the narrative, change things, explore different scenarios. It's wild.
The article even talks about how people who are good at metacognition, that's being aware of your own thought processes, might be more prone to lucid dreaming.
Interesting. So if you're the kind of person who pays attention to your thoughts, who's aware of how you're thinking, you might have a better chance of becoming lucid in your dreams.
Yeah, it's like that self-awareness somehow carries over even into the dream state, which raises some really interesting questions about consciousness, right?
It really does. And just like regular dreaming, lucid dreaming mostly happens during REM sleep.
Right, REM, rapid eye movement sleep. When your brain is super active, but your body is basically paralyzed.
Exactly. So you've got this paradox. Your mind is buzzing, creating this whole world, but your body is totally still.
And lucid dreaming is like a specific state within REM where that awareness becomes even more heightened. It's like a level up in consciousness, even though you're asleep.
Okay, so now the big question I know everyone's thinking. How can you actually have a lucid dream?
Right. How do you make it happen?
Well, the Very Well Mind article outlines a few techniques. The first one is pretty straightforward. Get more REM sleep.
Makes sense. The more time you spend in REM, the more opportunities you have for that lucidity to emerge.
So, basic good sleep hygiene, stick to a regular sleep schedule, avoid screens before bed, create a relaxing environment, all that.
Those are the foundations. And you know what else they suggest? Keeping a dream journal.
A dream journal.
Yeah, write down your dreams as soon as you wake up. The idea is that it makes you more attuned to your dreams, more aware of them.
So that awareness might carry over into your sleep, potentially leading to lucidity.
Exactly. Plus, when you start writing them down, you might notice patterns, recurring themes, strange details that can help you recognize when you're dreaming.
Okay, that's cool. And then there's a technique called MILD. That's MILD, mnemonic induction of lucid dreams.
Ah, yes, mild D. This one's all about intention. You basically tell yourself over and over before you fall asleep that you will have a lucid dream.
You're basically programming your mind.
Exactly. It relies on prospective memory that's remembering to do something in the future.
So you're planting that seed, that reminder
Yeah.
in your mind. And then there's reality testing.
Reality testing, what's that?
It's doing little checks throughout your day to see if you're dreaming. Like, try pushing your finger through your palm.
Wait, really?
Yeah. The idea is if you do it enough when you're awake, you might automatically do it in a dream too. And when your finger goes right through, that's your cue. Hey, I'm dreaming.
Oh, that's clever. Like you're training your brain to question reality.
Exactly. Now let's step back a bit and look at the history of lucid dreaming itself. You know, it's not some new age fad.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
The article actually mentions its roots in Eastern religions, especially Buddhism.
The idea of being aware within dreams has been around for centuries. But in Western thought, the first written account we have is from, get this, Aristotle.
Aristotle, wow.
Yeah. In his work on dreams, he describes having an experience where he knew he was dreaming. Imagine that over 2,000 years ago.
That's amazing. So people have been grappling with this concept for a long time. But it seems like more formal scientific study didn't really gain traction until the 19th century.
Right, and it's only been in the last few decades that researchers have started using really objective methods like brain imaging and stuff to investigate it.
Right. The real breakthrough came with the link to REM sleep, which was discovered in the 1960s and 70s. And then the electroculogram, the EOG, that allowed researchers to see when lucid dreamers were making specific eye movements.
Like they could signal from inside the dream just by moving their eyes. That's so cool.
It was huge. And then with the development of the EEG, the electroencephalogram, they could actually start to measure brainwave patterns during lucid dreaming.
So we can actually see what's happening in the brain physically when someone is having a lucid dream? Amazing.
It's been crucial for understanding what makes lucid dreaming unique, how it's different from regular dreaming and waking consciousness.
So how do you know if you've actually had a lucid dream? The article says the key is that in a regular dream, even the craziest things can seem normal. You don't question them. It's only when you wake up that you realize, wait, that was totally bizarre.
Right, but in a lucid dream, there's that aha moment within the dream, that sudden realization that this isn't real, I'm dreaming.
And then often, that's when you can start to exert some control. You can change the scenery, even your own actions within the dream.
The article lists a few signs: that awareness of dreaming, vividness, control, intense emotions. Sounds pretty powerful.
Definitely. Now, you might think that lucid dreaming is super common, but the stats are actually kind of surprising. About half of all people report having had at least one lucid dream in their life.
Okay, so not that uncommon.
Right. But when it comes to frequency, only about 23% say they have them about once a month, and only 11% have 2 or more per month.
So it seems like while the potential is there for a lot of people, consistent lucidity is relatively rare, which maybe makes it even more fascinating, right? This wildly vivid experience, this free, unique, and fantastic world, as the article puts it.
It's like having access to this whole other reality, and there might even be practical applications beyond just the pure novelty of it.
Oh, absolutely. Like the article talks about enhanced creativity, this idea that lucid dreaming could be a source of inspiration, new ideas, problem solving.
Right. Imagine having a mental space where you can experiment with anything without any limits. That could be huge for artists, inventors, anyone, really.
And the article mentions that there's actually a correlation between lucid dreaming and higher scores on creativity tests. So there might be something to that.
That's really interesting. And then there's the potential for reducing nightmares. If you can become lucid during a nightmare, you might be able to redirect it, take control, and make it less scary.
That's a really powerful idea, especially for people who suffer from chronic nightmares or PTSD. It could be a way to process trauma in a safe environment.
And then there's the idea that lucid dreaming could help with anxiety. If you can practice coping mechanisms in a dream where there are no real-world consequences, that could potentially translate to your waking life.
Like a mental rehearsal space.
Right.
It could be a way to build confidence and resilience.
The article even mentions a study where they asked lucid dreamers how they use their dreams. And the most common reasons were things like having fun, changing bad dreams, problem solving, getting creative ideas, and even practicing skills. So there's a whole range of potential applications.
Wow, so people are really using it for all sorts of things. Okay, now what about the research? What are scientists actually finding out about what's happening in the brain during lucid dreams?
Well, the article acknowledges that it's a tricky thing to study. You can't just ask someone to have a lucid dream on demand.
Right, so how do they study it?
They often rely on people who are already experienced lucid dreamers, and then they use things like brain imaging to monitor brain activity during REM sleep, while the dreamer signals that they've become lucid, usually through those prearranged eye movements we talked about earlier.
Right, like a way to communicate from within the dream. So what have they found?
Well, some of the earlier research showed this kind of hybrid brain activity during lucid dreaming, like a mix of patterns associated with REM sleep and wakefulness.
So it's not just one or the other, it's like a unique state of consciousness.
Exactly. More recently, they've found increased activity in the prefrontal cortex during lucid dreaming compared to regular REM sleep.
The prefrontal cortex, that's the part of the brain involved in higher level thinking, decision-making, self-awareness, right?
Right. And even more specifically, there seems to be a link between the size of the anterior prefrontal cortex, which is involved in self-reflection, and the frequency of lucid dreaming. So people who are more self-aware in their waking life might have an easier time becoming lucid in their dreams.
That's fascinating. Like there's a connection between how you think when you're awake and what happens in your dreams. But, we also have to talk about the potential downsides.
Right. It's not all sunshine and roses. The article does mention some possible risks.
Like what?
Well, some studies have suggested a possible link between intense or frequent lucid dreaming and an increase in psychopathology symptoms.
Oh, that's something to consider. It's a reminder that lucid dreaming is a powerful experience, and it might not be suitable for everyone, especially people with certain mental health conditions.
And there's also the potential for long-term risks associated with some of those induction techniques, things like sleep disturbances, depression, even dissociation. So it's not something to mess around with lightly.
Definitely not. It's important to be cautious and aware of the potential downsides.
And even the vividness and emotional intensity of lucid dreams, which can be so appealing, can also be a problem for some people. It could lead to more nightmares or sleep interruptions rather than less.
All right, it's like a double-edged sword. The same things that make it so amazing can also be challenging.
It's also worth noting that certain personality traits seem to be more common in people who have lucid dreams. They tend to have a stronger sense of internal control, higher need for cognition, and more openness to new experiences. So it seems like certain types of people might be more naturally drawn to it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And, as the article says, those induction techniques might increase the likelihood of having a lucid dream, but they don't guarantee it.
Right. It's not a magic bullet. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We started with the literal light of the word lucid, its ancient origins, how its meaning has evolved over time.
And we explored how that sense of clarity can manifest in our dreams, creating this whole other world of possibilities.
We talked about the science, the potential benefits and risks, and even some of the techniques people use to try to induce lucid dreams. It's a really fascinating intersection of language, consciousness, and our own inner world.
Definitely. And for you listening, think about this. Now that you've learned all about this lucid connection between language and consciousness, what other aspects of your own mind might be waiting to be explored?
What hidden potential are you ready to illuminate?
The journey of self-discovery is endless.
And that's what the deep dive is all about. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening.